everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm Lauren, Chief of Staff for Longshot Space Technologies. You guys have had a lot of questions. Today's special issue is about diving right into how Longshot is going to be changing, opening up the world for humanity, zooming into what we're going to be opening up for the city of Alameda, how we're working with our partnerships with the city. So with that, we're going to introduce our CEO, Mike Grace, and our CTO, NATO Saichek, and we're going to get to it. First question, let's start out broad. How does Longshot help humanity as a whole?
Well, right now, like at the very highest level, if you take it like the million-foot view of the whole thing, the way that we get the cadmium and rare earths necessary to sort of like make our entire technological civilization run is we export it to really poor parts of the world where people give themselves brain damage, destroying their watersheds, ripping apart mountains to get the cadmium and everything. And then they go to slightly less poor countries where those raw materials get refined, and then they get imported over here as iPhones and things like that. So if the only place we're able to get the raw materials to fuel technological civilization is the place where we also live and where all life is, those things are always going to be in tension. But the solar system broadly has the stuff necessary to support a human civilization of trillions of people. So I think that at a very, very high level, there's a future in which the human economy is integrated with the solar system, where we have access to the solar system, and there's a future in which we don't. And one of those feels really claustrophobic to me, and the other feels like a future of extraordinary possibility. And I really, really care about that access part. That's the part we're working on here.
I've heard you speak on just what Longshot will open up for humanity, whether just space travel. Can you speak a little bit more about that?
Yeah.
The big vision.
If you imagine a future where you've got millions of human beings living in like the moon, Mars, Enceladus, it's not actually the cost of sending people, it's the cost of sending the stuff, the consumables and the materials and the tools that they need to bootstrap what a human civilization off of the Earth. You might be looking at like 100 kilograms of human being to like 100 tons of stuff per year, invested for a long time before that number can be bought down, before you're actually talking about having sustainable civilization off the Earth. And that means that the price of sending that material basically is the thing which economically prevents a broader human civilization in the solar system. So if you want to attack something between us and kind of like this cool Star Trek vision of the future, it's that economic barrier.
Yeah. And NATO, why you, coming from the technological perspective?
For me, there's a quote that I have read several times. We did a little video of it where Kepler and Galileo are talking about how they're building the foundations of the future. They're making maps for boats that they will never sail on. And that's really inspiring to me, to be able to finally fulfill their vision, to make those boats that are adapted to the heavenly ether, to get humanity off of this rock and explore the rest of the solar system. Longshot has a good chance of being the cheapest way to get things into space.
And why is that? What kind of materials are you using?
We're using fundamentally really simple stuff. For a space launch system, we would be using hydrogen. 99% of the mass of the system will be steel and concrete laid flat on the ground, reusable, completely inert most of the time.
So that was the big picture space launch. But what about zooming in right here in Alameda? What kind of testing is going to be going on? What materials are you using and focused on? And what can the community of Alameda expect in our testing?
Yeah, it's the same kind of thing. Simple stuff, steel and concrete. The facility here at Building 29, it's basically a large steel tube with some pressure vessels attached to it. We pressurize the pressure vessels with inert gas, nitrogen, and then release the gas and watch it go down the tube. Basically, we're just testing out our timing systems, testing out the pressure vessels themselves. They've been hydro tested to make sure they're going to handle the pressure. We're just using local suppliers for the gas, Alameda Municipal Power for the power supply, which is largely renewables. The tests themselves do involve releases of compressed gas, but we're inside Building 29, 1.5 foot thick reinforced concrete walls. And it has acoustic insulation at one end. We're going to be adding more acoustic insulation. We're going to have acoustic sensors set up around the perimeter to make sure that we're not disturbing the local environment. We walked through with Susan from the Department of Fish and Wildlife. Basically, Longshot has always tried to have a good relationship with our neighbors. At our last facility, we were directly adjacent to a facility that did electron microscopy. And we worked with them closely. We set up some sensors and things so that we could signal them when we were about to do a test. And we got along great with them. And we did hundreds of tests with them as our neighbors without complaint. So we look forward to having the same kind of relationship with our neighbors here, where we work closely with them to make sure that we're doing things in a way that doesn't bother them, that doesn't disturb the local wildlife. We can always add more insulation. We can muffle the system so the energy doesn't bother the neighbors.
I actually think that just the benefits of that facility from like a safety and noise containment perspective, like we're going to be doing a lot better, I actually think, here in Alameda than we were in Oakland.
And this is this adaptive reuse, right? Adaptive reuse of this, what was once the Naval Air Base, and now we're recycling it, basically reusing it into something that is going to bring money. Tell me about how we're using that.
This facility that we're looking at, Building 29, that was a gun development facility. They had a machine shop and then they had the actual testing range. I'm furious that I didn't know about it like 2 or 3 years ago when I was starting Longshot. It's like somebody went back in time and tricked the Navy into building a space gun testing and development facility in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's kind of the perfect real estate for developing this technology. And then I also think they're sort of like, okay, what do we bring? So I think that probably about half the people who work at Longshot are sort of deeply technical. You've got a bunch of people with like engineering degrees, and then you've got a bunch of people who support that work who are on the technician side or the administrative side. So there's jobs. But right now we're small. It's like a company of like 20 people. My hope is that over the course of the next 2 or 3 years, Silicon Valley crazy talk times, you raise hundreds of millions of dollars and pump up to like 200, 300 FTEs. There's the direct economic impact of our work. I also think that like you bring people like that in, you integrate with the community, you're using the restaurants.
Right. We've got Faction here, right? We've got Vinyls, touring along with Leadership Alameda, and just to see the community that already exists here, the relationships, after work, we can hit the wine bar or the beer house, and the REAP Climate Center. They're a cool neighbor that we could go as a team and go volunteer at, and the local food bank. We want to be a part of this community. We want to be here to stay and not just be operating the 9 to 5, and we want to give back.
Yeah, this is actually a policy that we're going to be implementing here shortly. I am going to just make a standing offer to any of my employees that if they relocate to Alameda, we'll give them $10,000 as a moving bonus, because some of my guys, like they're living in Los Gatos, they're commuting literally 2 hours to get here a day. And like, I want people to move into the city.
So Mike, Nato, do you guys want to talk about workforce development, about how your internships have turned into full-time positions?
Yeah, we have, I think since year 1 at Longshot, basically every summer tried to have like 3 to 4 interns. And it was really painful the first year we did it. We weren't sure what we were gonna get. And what we got was really lucky. Like some of our top performing engineers at Longshot today started as interns. And that's literally our senior engineering bullpen right now is like, 3/4 people who are interns. And this coming summer, we're already talking to the College of Alameda, and they even have a program where basically they'll pay for the salary. So that seems like an incredible resource right there. So we're planning on, I believe, 2 or 3 interns from the College of Alameda, and then we're gonna continue to keep pulling interns also from San Jose State, who we've had a long relationship with for the past 3 years.
So zooming in back to our operations at Alameda, how well capitalized is Longshot?
What a great question. I wish I knew. I mean, right now we've got something on the order of like $4 million in the bank, and our hope is this coming probably summer, fall to try and raise like a really large A round. With Silicon Valley guy talk, I'm hoping to have something on the order of like tens of millions of dollars in the bank to kind of like expand and continue our work here. Over the course of the next 3 years, our fantasy, correct me if I'm wrong by the way, like we would love to see our operations here in Alameda increase to like a couple of hundred FTEs.
Full-time employees.
Full-time employees, thank you. And that would be, of course, like a mix of engineers, operations people, technicians, everything.
A common question that we get is, do you take Federal Department of Defense funding? And if so, can you please explain?
Oh, sure. So Longshot's done a couple of like research and development grants for the Air Force and for the Space Force at this point. Right now, we're actually currently working on a partnership with Purdue, and that's like us, Purdue, and the Air Force Research Labs. So like, I think that this is a really, really low-cost way of making stuff go really, really fast. And if you can do that in kind of the lower atmosphere, that's a great way of trying to do research and development on things like heat shields and sensors and scramjets, propulsion systems that work at those speeds. And from the perspective of NASA or the Air Force or whomever who's trying to do this kind of like transatmospheric, crazy, advanced aerospace stuff, you know, you could pay, how much would a rocket from Astra cost?
Millions of dollars, many millions of dollars.
Yeah, like low tens of millions, something like that, to kind of like get stuff up to the relevant speeds, or big potato gun, like much, much more affordable. So we're taking money from like wherever we can get it. It's all for kind of research and development work. And I do think there's probably going to be more academic partnerships in the near future as well, on kind of like the advanced aerospace stuff.
And what about something that City of Alameda is wondering, as well as people? Does this have a military application? Can you explain that a little bit more?
Well, I think that compared to rockets, actually, the military application is significantly narrower in that what we're building is a way of making stuff go really fast, but you can't hide it. You're never putting it on a submarine. You're never moving it. You're never pointing it at different people. Like, it's really this huge fixed facility that makes stuff go fast. So we really strongly think that the bones of the technology, the structure of it, are not well suited towards weapon systems, that rockets are actually better for that in many ways, but that our economics are way better.
Yeah, I totally agree. The scaling laws that are in effect for how large systems have to be to go to certain speeds, a system that could go 5 kilometers per second, you know, halfway to orbital speeds, would be miles long. It's not a system that you can build while hiding it,
right?
And it's not a system you can use without fear of reprisal.
I think that the best that we can really say about sort of like our technology from the ground up is that it's not a winner on a tactical situation. You want rockets if what you're trying to build is weapons that can be responsive to like what a customer wants. And I think from my perspective, I don't want to be building weapon systems.
So we talked a little bit about why Alameda Point, why we have this perfect facility to run our testing. Can you talk a little bit more about the wetlands, what our neighbors will be in the future?
Longshot's in a phase of life right now where it's really, really useful to have the ability to do research and development and test co-located here with our manufacturing, because we're building something that's never been built before. However, if we're successful, we're going to be building things that are way too large to basically go anywhere in the Bay Area, certainly, perhaps in California.
A Mach 5 system will be something like a kilometer long, and we have a lease on some land out in Nevada, and that's likely where we will be building that system. Space launch systems will probably be 10 to 20 kilometers long. So these systems will not obviously be built in the Bay Area. They'll likely be built maybe Nevada, maybe New Mexico.
So I know that facility right now, the city's plan is to knock it down and to replace it with a wetlands park. And we're okay with that. We don't want to get in the way of that. We just want to use this thing while it's here.
So Mike, NATO, now wrapping up here, let's talk about how is Longshot going to affect us? Zooming it in more closely in our lifetime, the next 10 to 20 years.
Okay, so at the biggest picture, you've got this vision of a humanity that's kind of integrated with the solar system. It would be really nice if the industrial copper production went somewhere else, and that means that, you know, what we have here is preserved. That's a big vision, far off in the future. I think for the near term, as accessibility to space improves, and as Longshot has a part of that story, more and more layers of human infrastructure that right now have to be built on the surface of the Earth are going to get pushed up to space. And that's going to start with data and mapping and communications. I think that in the next 10 to 20 years, all of these different pieces of infrastructure that for forever have just sat around us are going to start moving up. And, you know, in the past 40, 50 years, we've seen that with telecommunications. And I think that that story is just going to continue. And that as that happens, in lots of little ways, Earth becomes a better place to live. It becomes more convenient, it becomes safer, it becomes cleaner.
I think as we start to move stuff into space, people will find partially about broadening the availability of the space environment. You know, some kid might have a great idea about how she wants to do XYZ cool thing in space, and right now it's completely inaccessible because it costs, you know, $10,000 a kilogram or...
And we haven't thought of it. She's going to think of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is the paradigm is changing and we can help with that.
Yeah, absolutely. The name of the company is Longshot, right? We know that there's risk involved in what we're doing, but if you can work on something that has a chance, right, of having a big effect on the future course of human industry and civilization, I frankly think that you owe it to yourself to do that. So,
Here we are.
Here we are. Well, thank you guys for sitting down to answer some of these questions, and keep them coming.
yeah. Well, Lauren, I wanted to say thank you for pulling together all the questions and holding us to account. Appreciate you.